From the Toyota patio here at SoFi Stadium, site of Sunday Night Football, the Rams and the Eagles, welcome to a new edition of Between the Horns, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers. I'm JB Long with my friends and colleagues, DeMarco Farr and Maurice Jones-Drew.
The band is back together.
Good to see you both.
Yes, sir.
Good to be back at the stadium. It's a chilly fall morning here as we record.
Is that why you're rocking a hat? I've never seen you rock a hat before. That's new.
Just ran out of time getting the kids out the door to school.
So what we said.
Yeah. Our last show before Thanksgiving, I guess. How the holidays treating you so far?
Good so far. Everybody's coming to my house this year, so I'm making turkey. I'm more scared of that than the Philadelphia Eagles right now.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I mean, that's tough. You know, I got lucky. My grandmother taught my wife how to cook, and she's kind of, she's getting up there in age, so she doesn't remember everybody. And she was eating the last Thanksgiving, was like, who made this? Did I make this? I said, oh, then we know what we're doing. So Thanksgiving's at my house, but not with everybody.
Nice.
Just grandma and uncle.
We're going to get to takeaways from the win over the Patriots in just a second, but one of mine is food-related, which is, man, that New England clam chowder was good. We might need to build that into our own repertoire.
What? And it was right on time, too, because the temperature started to drop at the end, and it was right on time. You didn't have any,
This is why I start to hate you guys. See,
oh,
yeah, I
my
didn't have a single bite of clam chowder.
Oh, my
I
goodness.
heard you guys eating, though.
Would you have partaken, though? Is that your deal?
There's some things I cannot resist, and good clam chowder on the East Coast, I got to have.
Oh,
yeah.
that was on the money. What about the football part of it? What are you, 4 days later, still thinking about, good, bad, and otherwise, from that win over New England?
Well, you know me. I think we all feel the same way. A win is a win is a win. I could care less how it looks. 1 point, 1,000 points, as long as you got the W. So there were some good things. There's some bad things. I think you could have made that game a whole lot easier than you made it. So this is still a work in progress. But when you're working to try to get better, as long as you keep coming up with W's, then so be it. So they always say winning is great deodorant, and man, did that smell good on that 6-hour flight on the way back.
They did check a lot of boxes. Some of the things that we were asking for, you might say, begging for them to do. They were more explosive. That Cooper Kupp touchdown, the longest offensive play of the season. And then, MJD, I hope you get your commission for solving some of the red zone issues.
I mean, you just throw a little bit out there to see what happens.
Well, if you were watching the show last week, I thought MJD did a great job kind of breaking down the philosophy.
What'd you say? Yeah.
Oh, well, I told him, I said, look, there's 6 windows that you attack in the red zone. And really, you want to attack the outside, the front pylon, the back pylon is the ones you want to attack. And then every now and then, if you're going to attack the middle of the field behind the goalpost, you have to have crossers coming. Well, the Rams decided to attack the front pylon on the Puka Nacua play and the Cooper Kupp touchdown, and then the back pylon on the Kobe Parkinson, which was nice.
Yeah, that one, the Kupp, that little – when he rolled out and just threw it to him. I mean, how do you can't cover that. That's one where you just tip your cap and say, Coach, I don't know what to do on defense.
Yeah, we've been begging for that.
Well, moving the pocket, moving the launch point. They did that on 2 of the touchdowns, using some other personnel. Like, great to have Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua go over 100 yards each, collectively 3 touchdowns combined. But Kobe Parkinson gets his first, and it feels like, oh, okay, you're starting to unlock some things. You're forcing the defense to respect all of your eligibles.
No, I think you're exactly right. We kind of talked about the tight ends too, DeMarco. Just where have they been? What's been going on? You haven't seen that much production out of them. Is it a Tyler Higbee situation, or is it just guys aren't showing up? And it seemed like a lot of those questions were answered on Sunday.
I can't wait to get Higgs back, but that was the best tight end day they've had all season long, blocking and Parkinson finally getting in the end zone. So, look, when you talk about what you're about to face with Philly, all these weapons they have, if you have a good group of tight ends, that little gray area in between that's making hay, you can slow them down some.
Yeah, how about defensive? The Rams have already matched their takeaway total from last season through 10 games this year.
Well, look, to me, it's all about the front, and it's all about the entire defense, all 11. But what's driving this thing, what's driving this football team really is that young front. Jared Verse should be Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think Braden Fist is as good as advertised. Kobe Turner he's on a heater. I think 6-7 tackles a game for 4 straight weeks, and he's been just an absolute force, and he's calling the front.
Yeah.
He's getting everybody lined up, so he's doing double duty, and he's balling his butt off. So that front is just driving everything. I just hope the offense gives them a chance to rest and then go attack and rush the pass.
He just has to turn his ears off. That's all.
It happens, man. I mean, it's right there. I mean, look, you know what you're trying to do. They know what you're trying to do. You're going to have to play the hard count a little bit better, but I'd rather have guys that are aggressive than the opposite.
I think that's the part of being young. You don't have kids,
Yeah.
right? When you have kids and there's all craziness, dads know how to turn their ears off and let the craziness go without even still focus on the thing. When you're young, those ears are still active and you're listening. To me, I thought the defense the good part is what you talked about, the young front. The bad part was the young front, right? Making mistakes when you should have ended the game, the penalties towards the end, the face mask, obviously the personal foul. Those are things that you can't have, and those are young issues, right? And that's what's, you have to love it and then understand it too, right? You can't be like, hey, you can't do this, but that energy that they bring. So I just think that as they mature, which they've done an awesome job of just playing, but when they mature, I think you're going to really see this defense explode. And I also say this, I mean, as much as we talk about Jared Verse, Braden Fisk has done also. He should be up for Rookie of the Year too. I don't know how many sacks he has, but he's up there. I mean, he's getting just as much pressure or causing as much havoc as Verse is as well.
I love it, just not off the bench. When you're an off-the-bench guy, Rookie of the Year, that's not you. It's a Jared Verse thing. I'm sorry.
No, I know what you're saying, but like
spot duty guy, that's great. He's got a motor. I love him, and I've been saying this since camp. That dude is one of the best stunt runners the Rams have. But Jared Verse, from start to finish, hand in the dirt, from play 1 to play 99, he has been that guy. So I hope he gets the nod.
And they are 1-2 rookie sacks, by the way. Fisk taking over with his handful by a half a sack. We'll see if Verse can get back this week. They've gone back-to-back with forced fumbles. Byron Young has sacks in 4 straight games. He was a big part of that closing effort. Look, you'd love to see the Rams be better on third down. Stafford, pitching and catching on third down in particular is probably an area for growth in the back half of this schedule. But if you punt and play defense, to have BY do his thing and to have Kam Kinchens, who's the NFC Defensive Player of the Week again for the second time in 3 games, close that thing with a pick and take a seat.
Yeah, I wish he would have scored. I know you're against it, but
no,
like,
I love
when
you
I
weren't
saw
saying that about Roseburn, though, were you? on the block extra point?
I was.
Any
Scoop
takeaway you wanted
we want to put points on the board, babe. Like this is points come in different ways. The miscellaneous points are the best ones, the ones that you're not accounting for. It's the end of the game. Take that thing to the house.
Do they teach takeaways at Miami? Is that a class?
Yeah.
It must be. No, I mean, like, is that a class at school?
Ed Reed's the honorary professor.
Every guy that comes out of there is a ball hawk, but it's all about opportunity. It's all about pressure, and closing games is a mindset. And this is so funny. Our guys are here, the 99 team, the defense. I can't wait to see Todd Light. He's the one that hit me up to this. It's just 3 perfect plays to end a football game on defense. And it starts with the first. You get that one, you get the second one, third play, you get that one, you're off the field, game over. So it's all just a mindset. Most young guys, when they get to the end of game mode, I need to make the play. Sometimes that works against you. Breathe, make a play, disrupt, get off the field, and win the ball game. So it's all a mindset.
The 3 perfect plays they put together should have ended the game a quarter earlier, though, because they did it, and Kinchens punched that out, and it was 4th down, and Verse pulls a guy off the pile, and it cost him.
It's hard. I don't want to coach that out of him because he was helping his teammate, but you have to be smarter about those end-of-game situations, especially with, and no knock, with an officiating crew like that. That's a little helter-skelter, that anything that they think is a foul, they're going to bang you for. So just be smart, let it go, yell at the ref to pull him off. Don't touch the guy, get off the field.
Penalties we'll talk about a little bit later as it relates to the Philadelphia Eagles. It's actually been one of the strengths of the Rams, one of the least penalized teams in the National Football League. Want to touch on special teams briefly because the Rams have taken several steps forward in that phase. It felt like a couple steps back. Shout out to Mike Hoyt for his blocked extra point. That was huge, but couple of short early kickoffs cost the Rams. Obviously, the missed 26-yarder. I will say this in defense of Joshua Carty, there's something in the water going around because it's not just him. Across the league, future Hall of Famers, including the guy you're going to face this week in Philadelphia, everybody's missing kicks.
Yeah, I think it's, Richard Sherman, one of his podcasts, he was like, you could find a kicker selling bricks. Like, no question. Like, you can.
You can find
but
a kicker
you don't know how
bricks.
You don't know how hard kicking is until you actually go out there and try it. And the one thing about it is, I think one of my good college buddies is the special teams coach for the Baltimore Ravens. You're talking about Tucker, who's missed a couple of them, right? And he's like, people go through slumps. And it hit me. It resonated with me because in 2007, I went through a crazy slump, like an 8-game slump where I couldn't score.
Oh, boy.
Like I was right there and I'd fumble or whatever it may be. And I understand that. You have to allow kickers to kind of work through those things. And as they get going, I think they'll be fine. Carty, I thought, did an awesome job, like bouncing back after missing that 26-yarder, came back and he buried the next one. My heart was racing. I know yours was as well. I could feel it as we were calling the game. But to go ahead and make that kick and to have that same nice swing is what you're looking for. And, again, you have a young team. Like, just because your quarterback is old doesn't mean – and your receiver, your Cooper Kupp, those are your 2 old guys. Everybody else is pretty much under 25, under 26. So you have a young team that you have to coach through some of these mistakes.
Did you call Stafford old just now?
He's only a couple years younger than me.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's football old. He's football old.
And when you're talking about place, I get it. Everybody goes through it, and I'm trying to. Some of my best friends in life are place kickers, and I try to have as much patience as possible. But when you're out there, when it's on the line, you've got to make your kicks. Period. End of story. You've got to hit those extra points. And I like the guy. I love the guy. I even like the kickers that stink. I do. They're good people. But in those situations, you have got to hit your kicks.
Because otherwise, your coach isn't going to run you out there in an end of game situation where 3 wins it.
That's it. I mean, I thought Sean McVay was setting up Carty to be the hero, and then when he punted, I'm like, okay, well that tells me a lot. There might be an issue there, but the last thing you want is for him to go out there and miss that. Then his confidence is down here. So I get both sides of it, but as place kickers or as teammates of place kickers, when you're out there, just like I expect Mo to do his job, I got to do my job. You got to do yours. Put it through the uprights.
He's been better here at SoFi, and so maybe getting back in his home stadium on Sunday night under the primetime lights will be good for Joshua Carty and the special teams unit. We'll certainly have our eye on every fourth down decision, right, as you prepare to face the Philadelphia Eagles, because how lethal and persistent they are on that down, and also the fact that Jake Elliott is having kicking troubles himself. All right, where do we start with this preview? I thought we might focus on the Defensive Rookie of the Year battle. Because of the leading candidates here in Los Angeles and the 2 defensive backs that Philadelphia brings to town, they are resurgent. They are part of what could be the best defense in the NFL now.
Yeah, well, I'll start with our defense first. I think third down is going to be so important to not allow it to get to 4th and 1.
Yep.
4th and 2, 4th and 3. Because they're going to go for that every day of the week. So third down, you're going to have a more sense of urgency to try to keep them in 4th and 5 because of the way the tush push works and how aggressive the Eagles are. This is going to be your toughest challenge today. That's probably the most talented team in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles, if you look at it from top to bottom on paper, right? Offensive line's all really good. Tight ends can play. Running back, obviously Saquon, Barkley hurling the guy backwards. Yeah, that was embarrassing for us Jag fans as well. But then you have A.J. Brown, who we've seen multiple times, right, and what he brings to the table. And if you're a corner, if you're Darius Williams, like covering A.J. Brown, that's going to be tough because, again, A.J.'s 6'3", 235 pounds, and Darius is, 5'9", 180.
And he's got to come fit that edge in the running game against Saquon.
Exactly. So you're gonna be up for a task, and it's going to be important that this defensive line get pressure, that these linebackers find a way to fit, and you know that they're going to try to attack your linebackers in the passing game. That's what they've done in the past with Saquon. So you have to – it's going to be a group effort to do that, but at the end of with saying all that, third down is going to be the most important down.
No doubt.
And it's not going to be getting to 4th down. It's going to be keeping it 4th and long instead of 4th and short.
On third, you need zeros, TFLs, takeaways.
Yes.
And speaking to your point about the offensive line, maybe the best tackle tandem in the National Football League. If it's not the best offensive line in the National Football League, it's at least the best since the Rams have seen since Week 1 in Detroit.
Yeah.
But they had some success against that Detroit Lions offensive line, so think how far they've come since then.
Yeah, and there's a lot of pride there with those 2 tackles. There's a lot they think they can do, which is great. They may leave those edges open on third down and say, your guys can't get to my guys because of my tackles. And if you win, there's Jalen Hurts. But that's half the problem is he can scramble. And when you talk about guys like Brown at receiver, it's not the called play that scares me. It's the jazz session. Yeah. It's when he breaks contain because he is so big and he plays the rules letter tight or really tight, and he plays bully ball like Debo. Yeah. He'll just, force his way into the end zone. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. You're going to have to keep him in the pocket. Third down is, like you said, is going to be an adventure for both sides. You got to get off the field, and you got to stay on it if you're Matthew Stafford. Because if you give them the football again more often than not, they're going to drive that thing right down your throat.
Yeah. I think this battle could be decided as soon as Sunday night if Verse has a big game and the Rams win. Like, that's it right there in Week 12 for me. If not, then maybe Quinyon Mitchell or Cooper DeJean, like the top 2 picks in their draft class.
Your guy again. You've been talking about him
forever. I was trying to tell people in the draft, like, that was the best player that I had seen. And I know
he fell into their lap at 40?
Yeah, they thought the Rams were going to take him, right? And then the Rams go with Braden Fisk, and then he gets there. They've done a great job of really identifying their issues, right? They've had secondary issues for the last couple of years. They go out and draft 2 guys first and second round. They've kind of solidified that. Cooper DeJean in the slot, terrific tackler, right? And so you're going to be paired up against Cooper Kupp, who breaks a ton of tackles, so that's going to be a big issue. And then I'm excited to see how Quinyon Mitchell handles the physicality of Puka Nacua. That's what I'm interested to see because he's done a great job against like Terry McLaurin and other guys that are more finesse, right? They're not as like, I'm going to go through you like we saw Puka Nacua catch that third down slant. I'm going to go through you to catch this slant. He hasn't really seen that type of physicality. So let's see how he matches up with that when they get matched up, if he can handle the size and the brute ability of Puka.
Let's go to the other side of the trenches, and that is the Rams' offensive line, reconstituted as it was in New England with Bo Limmer, the rookie center, stepping back in. Warren McClendon held his own at right tackle. We'll see if Rob Havenstein is able to make it back for this week or if it's McClendon again. But just like you kind of go from the 101 class in New England to the graduate level test on the other side of the ball, kind of the same thing here when you're looking at the menacing front of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Sweat is when you draw up pass rushing outside linebacker, it looks like him, tall, lean, the guy makes moves. Inside, Davis and Carter, I mean, it's less get your hands down kung fu style. This is clubs and take you out of your shoes. So this will be a full-time job. And I love Brandon Graham, 15 years in.
Oh, dude.
He's an absolute technician and just a dog out there.
And he's going to talk trash the whole time.
The whole game. So this will be the stiffest test of the year for this Rams O-line.
It's funny you talk about the clubs and stuff with Carter. I've also seen Carter just win with straight finesse. Mm-hmm. Like, don't touch me. Get out, like, hands and get there. So you're going to – whoever's going against him match weekend, they're going to have their hands full. Now, Davis is just a bigger body. Woo. He's going to try to, like, bull rush you. But Carter's been playing unreal.
Yes.
I marked something he said this week, that last year when the Philadelphia Eagles are here, he keyed in on the fact that, we're playing in a silent count environment. And so they started studying the hand signal, and they got get off, and they got to Matthew Stafford. He's banking on that again Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, Philly travels.
You know what big guys hate, though? Tempo.
Oh.
No huddle. Wear them out.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Yeah. I've always I played with a couple. I played with a couple guys. Your head coach at Washington was with me in Jacksonville. That was one of his things. When we played bigger defensive linemen, throw the ball to the outside, get those guys running sideline to sideline, and keep them on the ball, right? And then take your shots like the old time when he comes out. Then you have your chance to run your offense and take your shots. And I remember Sean used to do that a lot with that metal huddle, keeping guys on the field and locking them in and doing all the different things. It may be time to do that again this week, right? And use it to your advantage.
Interesting, though, because he's been shuffling personnel at his skill group more than ever before.
Right.
Like this year at tight end and receiver, so that prevents you from kind of using some of that tempo to your advantage.
I mean, you can use it play calling wise. You can, like you said, make them go side to side, and a lot of motions. Make them talk. Make them have to reset a lot. Maybe you get keys on them.
I will say this, unlike last week where New England just blitzed the daylights out of Matthew Stafford and he torched them a couple of times, that's not what Vic Fangio and Philly do. It's not their identity, it's not their philosophy, and they don't have to because of the game records they have up front. So you'll have to beat them a different way most likely.
Oh, yeah, they're going to sit back and play coverage. I mean, they're going to rush forward. They're going to play coverage every now and then. They're going to get to man-to-man. And, you know, Nakobe Dean is playing really well. And normally you could say, okay, I think that we have a matchup with Kyron against the linebacker. Nakobe Dean has kind of showed up. And a guy that hasn't played in a little bit, had to work his way into playing, he's really – getting this, he's kind of the center point to this defense, right?
Him and Zach Bond, too.
Yeah, I mean they're both doing a great job of covering the back out of the backfield.
That's Fangio to me. Those two linebackers, that's basically him on the field. How they get you covered up and aligned to whatever you're doing, just so they can get after you with that front. They don't make a ton of mistakes. You're going to have to earn every single yard.
Am I the only one who's fascinated by like Vic Fangio, the specter of his defense, and what it's meant to every stage of the Sean McVay Rams era? Like, he was the one who put the blueprint down in Chicago on another Sunday Night Football
the 6-1
game that then Bill Belichick borrowed from and led to their downfall in the Super Bowl. I think it's led to several evolutions of the Rams, whether it's hiring Brandon Staley and adopting some of that with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, or even evolving your running game the way that they have in these last couple of years. And that's kind of where I'm going next, because I think with you two here in the seats next to me and this game coming, it's the perfect time to dig into the running games because Philadelphia is elite with their quarterback, offensive line, and running back. And the Rams aren't getting enough. And when you look at the key to their stretch run last season, it started in Week 12, a trip to Arizona, the return of Kyron Williams, and they were a runaway freight train from there. Is that within their reach? Let's start on the Rams running game. Is that within their possibility right now in this moment?
I think it is. I personally believe it is. I just think there's been a lot of issues, right? You've had the offensive line woes. You've had some schematic issues, guys trying to block with not the right leverage. And then you've had runners miss holes. I was going to say against the Patriots, they had ran the counter trade to the right. Kyron breaks it for 20 yards, 30 yards. then they go back and run the same play to the left, and he dives inside instead of following that pulling tight end around. And so, again, it's been a little bit of both. When you have great schematics, you have to hit it. And it sucks as a running back because when you're in a situation where you have to almost be perfect in the run game, it's hard for you. Now you're like laser focusing, like I got to make the right read. I have to do this instead of just reacting to things. And so I think that's kind of what they're working through right now. I thought making the change to the offensive line helped a ton last week.
You like Limmer?
I love Limmer back in that spot. I think Limmer's done an awesome job, and we talked about the blessing in disguise over the last couple between the horns. But that is right. All those reps, now I feel more comfortable with him being the center. Now I have extra guys that can play other positions. And then last but not least, it's the schematics, right? Last year, everyone thought the Rams were a downhill outside zone team. They became a downhill team, right? And Kyron was breaking off runs. He was manipulating the linebacker, doing all those things. Well, you have a whole offseason now to study what they were doing. So now you have to zig when they're zagging, which means, okay, we need to get back to the outside zone a little bit. We've seen the Rams have a ton of success with their outside zone. So maybe that's something you have to look for, of hooking guys and getting around the outside and trying to get bigger plays.
Any perspective on that, or you want to flip to the other side?
I was just putting myself on the other side of what he was saying as a defense, and I just remember you could tell when a running back had zero confidence in his line. And it was almost laughable, the stuff they would try to do when we're just kicking the guy's butt in front of us. All these tricks and all this stuff. It ain't working, bro. I mean, why? Stop. And even when he's got a lane, he's chasing ghosts because we're kicking his butt so bad. But to me, to fix a good running game, you just have to keep going through it. And you tell me, I think Kyron is a good back, a better than average running back in the National Football League. But I do expect guys like him and your lead back to be able to break tackles every now and then. Even if sometimes the design of the play is to get you one-on-one, and then I expect you to win. That's what Philly does. Can I expect Kyron the same out of Kyron? I think I should, don't I?
No question. He did it last year.
That's what I'm saying. So at some point, it's not about scheme or it's not about whatever. Sometimes it's about that guy deciding he's just not going down.
Before we talk about stopping Philadelphia's run, I just want to tack on that when we say running game, at least speaking for myself, I don't always mean a traditional handoff, right? There's all sorts of extensions of the running game, your quick game, your now stuff. Like what game was it? Minnesota, where they motioned away from Puka, like they motioned the quads away from Puka and just threw him a now route and let him go get his. Like that's an extension of the running game to me. Your screen game, which has not clicked, is part of that because – what's Vic Fangio going to do? Like, there's a reason why Mel Kiper this offseason was like, we got to ban 2 high safety shells. Like, this is the guy. He's going to tamp down your explosives. He's not going to give you 0 blitz 69 to the house. He's going to make you earn it one step at a time.
Yeah, and I also put play action pass in your running game. Right, and
which
that's
Stafford's been incredible at.
And that's why I when the red zone, I was like the play action pass, the fake stretch. When you run stretch and you have success with it, they all start to overcommit, and then you're able to boot away, and that's a part of your running game as well because again, it's off of a run action. To me, I think again, whatever you figure out success, and I said it on the broadcast when Kyron broke that counter run, and then Sean came right back to it. We've never seen Sean do that. Go same play to the other side.
I will say this, too. You reminded me of something, and DeMarco and I have discussed this recently. I think Sean's best ability as a play caller is stacking blocks, like forming his own patterns, his own tendencies, making sure that you know what he's going to do, showing you that same look, and then giving you an answer to it, flipping the script, using your rules and your principles against you. Well, here's the problem. It's been under construction so much they're trying to assemble this plane at 30,000 feet after takeoff that he hasn't been able for multiple weeks to put those tendencies down on tape, do them well, have success with them, and then say, oh, you think I'm going to give you this. Here it is out the back.
Well, I thought he did that against the Patriots in the first play where he threw the ball to Puka Nacua, right? He gives you a heavy run action, then he runs like he's going left, and he comes back right, and he's wide open.
Yeah.
And how many times have we seen him fit in on the linebackers and safeties? They're getting to that, and that's why I said it's taking a little bit of time because of all the missing pieces.
Yeah.
But I think, again, as long as they continue to work out, it's like the old adage is chopping wood, right? You just got to keep chopping, and eventually the tree falls. That's what they're at right now because they started so late with all the injuries.
Or your axe breaks. Yes, one or the other.
Or the axe hits off the wood and goes right into a guy's leg in your locker room. But that's never neither here nor there.
That first pass to Puka was so awesome. Motion, and you go back through the line of scrimmage. Like that's just pure design. You got to love it.
And again, if they hit a few more of those third downs, maybe you start to build off of that sooner in the game and you run away with that victory. Again, the Patriots last week, good effort. Definitely not the Eagles you're contending with here, in part because Philadelphia has the best running game in the National Football League. Running back, quarterback, you name it, they do it all. About the only bad thing you can say about Saquon is he keeps getting tackled inside the 2-yard line and letting his quarterback hawk his touchdowns, right?
First and foremost, we need to – is this my single? To the Giants, why? Why would you do this? Why would you allow this man to hit free agency knowing where he was going? So the whole world has to deal with this.
I think you know the answer.
And do it with a behind-the-scenes show tracking your every decision. Put it out there for everyone to see.
What are we doing? You knew he was going to Philly. Everyone knew he was going to Philly if he left the Giants. I mean, if you're a running back, why wouldn't you want to go to Philly? They have everything. You have a running quarterback, so now the defense has to play 11-on-11 football, so I don't have to see two guys. I only have one guy to beat. Then they have an offensive line that can create seams. And guess what? On top of all that, they have two first-round wide receivers on the outside that can go, and a tight end that can make plays. I'm just a piece of the puzzle.
Winning isn't complicated. People complicated.
I do like this opportunity for the Rams defense, though, and Chris Shula, because a little bit like we said before Miami, they've developed this reputation for being like pocket puncturers, like takeaway artists, disruptors, but they have other muscles to flex, and they have stopped some pretty good running games. It's maybe not been as consistent or as persistent as we'd like to see, but I like the chance they have ahead of them Sunday night.
The Rams stopping this rushing attack against look, here's the thing, and you can tell me, facing guys like Maurice when it gets cold and you're outdoors, that stinks. Facing Saquon Barkley outdoors when he's got a lead where he can pound on you, that stinks. So you're here, you're in SoFi. I think the same applies. The last thing you want to do is let Philly have a lead going into the fourth. You'll see Saquon a lot. You may see him hurdle two guys going backwards this game.
He's at historical levels after halftime in terms of yards per carry.
But if you're doing the job offensively, if you're staying on the field, if you're running the football effectively, if you're keeping Saquon and company off the field, you've got a better chance to beat him. The more points you score, the less you see Saquon. The less you score, the more you're going to see him.
I'll say this too: stopping the run is going to be tough. Let's just put it's going to be hard to do that, but you have to beat your one-on-one blocks. Right, that's how you stop the Eagles. It's when you get a one-on-one, because they double team a ton. When you get that one-on-one, if it's on the edge, if it's over the guard, if it's over the center, you have to win your one-on-one. And the other part is this: all you talked about offensively. If you get up and you're able to force Jalen Hurts to have to throw the ball, that's where you're at your best. Because Jalen Hurts' drop-back game, that's where the Eagles aren't like the top in the league. They're kind of in the middle towards the bottom. So getting him to have to drop back a ton, that's where you win this game. When he could do the play-action pass and the quarterback run and all that in the red zone, the tush-push, then you're in a world of trouble. So forcing him to play left-handed is going to be what you want to do.
Two things on that. I'm encouraged by the progress that Tyler Davis has made as a defensive tackle, that Bobby Brown has put together, maybe his best month as a pro. Like, those are the types of early down run stuffers you're going to need to have big nights against these Eagles.
No question.
This is what you're here for. I mean, this is, if you're Bobby Brown, this is how you're going to make your money. If you want to make some money in the NFL, this is it here. You are the biggest body they have, the whitest guy by far. I mean, like you said, the first guy that gets off the bus is him. So if you want to make a name for yourself, go nose to nose with Philly and turn them back.
Well, he's
get some
done
TFLs
that,
on Saquon Barkley.
Like, he's done that. Like, he's dominated Miami. He dominated the line of scrimmage against Miami. He's dominated the line of scrimmage against Minnesota. He's done some really good things. This is going to be your tough test, and you're right. If you want to get paid, go over here and start moving guys out the way.
He walks like he's carrying luggage. So be that guy.
So I got to tell you this. So we're in the elevator about to go on the bus. And, I kind of get in the back corner of the elevator. And he got in and he took, the whole thing up. It was just me and him. I was like, bro, this thing is
walking
big enough
up
for
the bus stairs sideways.
It's like, it's me and you. It's big enough for all. Like, we can ask 3 more people. But he was just walking around. I was like, oh, I get it now. I see why you
sideways through a metal detector. That's how big he is. Yes.
So that was before the game. After the game, we're flying home from New England, and before the plane takes off, well, MJD didn't see it. He was already sleeping because that's what he does. But DeMarco and I were watching the Seattle Seahawks go to Santa Clara and get that win over the San Francisco 49ers, kind of reframe the division, put it back within comfortable striking distance. Let's turn to the playoff picture now. The 6-4 Cardinals and the 5-5 Seahawks this week. We said it last week. You better be accustomed to rooting for the Seahawks, as awkward as that feels, because the Rams need them right now.
We are Seahawk fans right now.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The Rams have the toughest assignment this weekend of anybody, right? They got Philly.
San Francisco banged up going to the snow in Lambeau, you could argue. But
okay,
yeah,
fair.
It's right there.
Yeah, but
right
I mean, so we're all Seahawk fans. I don't know what to make of Seattle. I don't know what to make of Arizona right now. Are they really the best team in this division?
Their next 3 at Seattle, at Minnesota, home to Seattle.
It's tough. They got a tough stretch.
It's cold, and this is, Kyler Murray is a runaround type guy. Will he still be that guy when it turns cold and you got to go play outdoors? I don't know.
So I'll say this. I don't think this is a gotta-have-it, must-win Sunday for the Los Angeles Rams because of what happened in the division. But I will say, if you want to keep your wild card hopes alive, you got to win this one, because I'm looking at Minnesota. If they win this week, that's 9 for them. It's going to be tough to catch them. If Green Bay wins this week, and that's what the Rams want to happen, beat the 49ers, that's 8 plus the head-to-head. They're getting a bit out of reach in the wild card. And if Washington wins this week, that's 8 for them, and they've got a clear path to 11 or maybe 12 with the schedule that I've seen. So, again, we return our focus to the division. I think that's the best, and hopefully not the only, but definitely the most direct path to the postseason. Be better than those other 3 teams.
I want to turn the league on its head, because I don't know that many people that's picking the Rams to beat Philadelphia, because they think Philadelphia is this unstoppable juggernaut. So what happens if we get to Monday and the opposite happens? So how do you start reconfiguring who goes where and whatever? But I agree with you. I think the easiest path to make the playoffs is to win the NFC West. Some of these teams are just going to run by you by their schedule. But I think if you beat Philadelphia, you change a lot of opinions. You change perception like that.
It reminds me of a time I was in Jacksonville and we were playing, and we were kind of going against the Colts for the division. And Jack Del Rio said this, and it resonates right now. Like, we can only worry, like, we can worry about what they're doing, but we have to control what we can control. We have to handle our business. If you do what you're supposed to do, everything else will fall into place. You can't, we can't be playing Philadelphia and rooting for Seattle, right? Like, we can. But as a player, you have to be locked in on making sure you're doing the best you can to beat Philly, because that's the only path that matters, is that the one that you create. Now, when you get into a situation where you have to, we're over here holding hands and hoping and watching TV and hoping, so that's the worst feeling in the world, because it's out of your control. And as a competitor, you want to have control of everything, right? You want to be able to control your own destiny. So if I'm the Rams, I'm focusing on Philly. We beat Philly, then, hey, Seattle, hope you do your thing. Green Bay, hope you do your thing. If you don't, we still took care of what we needed to do.
I hear you, but I'm not listening to you. None of it is getting in here, because at 4:30 on Sunday, I'm going to be doing this.
Yeah, no,
what
not you.
I'm
not talking about us, JB. I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about the players and the fans. We all should be looking, rooting.
Because I've got the magic number 10 in my head, right? 10 wins. I hope that's enough. Maybe it'll be 11. But if I'm thinking, how do the Rams get from 5 to 10 between now and the end of the season? I think the last 2 are gotta-have-its, right? You get to host Arizona and Seattle to finish. Given what we're talking about, winning the division, you got to bank those, right? So then that means, can you get 3 of these next 5 between now and then? I think they can.
Yeah.
Why not?
Same as you. It just ping. I heard nothing of what you said. Beat Philadelphia. That's it.
Yeah, beat Philly, huh?
All right, then fine. Give us your keys to the game. If that's all you're going to talk about today,
That's all I heard.
Okay, you get to start keys to victory then.
Okay, well, we've said it. I mean, it's a retread. I mean, you have got to stop Saquon Barkley. That's going to be number 1. They're going to lead with that. That's the tip of the spear. When you get in the red zone, I think it's a mathematical certainty they score, because they have so many weapons, even ones we haven't mentioned. We didn't even talk about their tight ends, and they're good.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of issues there. So I think this game, it comes back to what the Rams do offensively. Can Matthew Stafford and company stay on the field long enough, pick up first downs, score when you get down the field, and put the pressure on Jalen Hurts to have to throw the ball to win? If it's the opposite way, I wouldn't say you have no chance, but your chances are slim to beat them if they're running the football.
Yeah, I'm gonna go something completely different than I normally go, like running game or third down. Like, to me, it's put pressure on Kellen Moore. Put pressure on their OC. Force him to have to call the perfect game, meaning that offensively you're scoring points, you're holding the ball. Defensively, you're creating some issues for him where he can't just turn around and be like, oh, here, hand it off to Saquon. Oh, here. He has to start dialing up plays. When he dials up plays, we saw it in L.A. when he was with the Chargers. We saw it with the Cowboys. He tends to get a little nervous. And what I mean by nervous is, like, he'll call a play and it just doesn't flow the same. When he gets out of his flow, the Eagles don't look as good. And I think early in the year, the Packers did a great job of getting them out of the flow, and then Saquon saved them, right? The Saints got him out of their flow. Saquon saved him, right? So if you can find a way to get him out of their flow, get him out of his flow, I think you have a great chance of really putting up some points and doing some good things.
Something you said earlier reminded me, you know how we've been harping on the slow starts for the Rams? In 7 of their 10 games, they haven't scored so much as a point in the first quarter. You know who's been even worse? Philadelphia has put up 8 zeros in the first quarter. So maybe there's an opportunity to jump them and kind of dictate some of those terms like you're talking about. Hey, one other thing in the backdrop that I want to mention here before we go on Between the Horns, DeMarco and all of his buddies from the championship team, 25th anniversary. Everyone rallying and going to be here.
And we still look good.
Is everybody coming?
Most of the guys are coming. That was the cool thing about winning when we did. We were all roughly the same age.
Oh, that's
so,
nice.
yeah, we get to all come back and do this again. So special.
So we're going to miss you for a little bit.
A little bit. I'll be doing the halftime stuff. I'll be doing the emceeing. I'll get to announce Tori and Isaac, and it's going to be so much. I cannot wait to get to game day.
Tori, who's going into the Hall of Fame this summer.
Yes.
This is the year.
You tell me. We were both teammates at Torrey Holt.
Listen, Tori, I learned a lot from Tori.
Yeah.
I actually have 2 teammates going in, hopefully, this year. It's going to be Fred Taylor and Tori.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Look, Torrey, if the other guys are already in, then Torrey Holt is definitely of that ilk. He should be in. Let's get this done.
All right, let me see if I can check all the Toyota boxes here. It's Sunday Night Football, presented by Toyota. The Rams hosting the Philadelphia Eagles, trying to snap that 6-game winning streak. We say so long and have a good rest of your week from the Toyota patio here at gorgeous SoFi Stadium. And as always, Between the Horns is presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers.
That was nice.
Wow, you did that.
Let's all go get behind the wheel of our Toyota and drive home.
There you go.
Enjoy the weekend.
I want a hat, though.